Okay, so you're thinking about trying out unblocked browsers.
Makes sense.
Yeah, who doesn't want to unlock the full potential of the internet?
Right.
But these days, I bet you're thinking about privacy and security too, right?
Oh, for sure.
That's where this deep dive comes in.
Yeah.
We're going to really explore how these browsers work and, what features set them apart.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, hopefully you'll be able to figure out if unblocked browsers are the right tool for you.
It's interesting because unblocked browsers aren't just about bypassing restrictions these days.
Yeah,
They've become a gateway to a whole new way of thinking about online freedom
definitely.
and data privacy.
For sure.
We've got a stack of sources here
Right.
that really delve into the technology
Hmm.
behind these browsers and the different approaches they take,
Right.
and how they're evolving to meet the demands of users who are more and more savvy about their digital footprint these days.
It's like we're moving from a world of like walled gardens into a more open internet where
Exactly.
users have more control.
Yeah, and the technology can get pretty complex.
I bet.
You mentioned proxies and VPNs,
Yeah.
but there are other methods too, like DNS manipulation and even SSH tunneling.
Whoa.
And each of these techniques has its own strengths and weaknesses in terms of speed and security,
Right.
and the types of blocks they can get around.
So it's not as simple as just installing a browser and having access to everything, huh?
Right, you got it.
Okay, yeah, there are nuances to consider.
Like, for example, a proxy server
Okay.
acts as like an intermediary
Hmm.
between your device and the website you're trying to access.
Okay.
It basically masks your IP address,
Hmm.
making it look like you're browsing from somewhere else.
Okay.
VPNs, on the other hand, create like an encrypted tunnel
Yeah.
between your device and a remote server,
Got it.
providing a much higher level of security and anonymity.
Okay, so a VPN is like having your own little private, secure pathway
Yeah,
to the internet.
Ex-
And a proxy is more like borrowing someone else's address.
That's a really good way to put it.
Okay.
Then you have things like DNS manipulation,
Okay.
which basically tricks your device into using a different DNS server to resolve website addresses.
Okay.
This can be pretty effective for bypassing restrictions based on domain names.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds like each method has its own pros and cons depending on what type of block you're facing,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what your priorities are
Yeah,
for
really.
speed and security.
Right.
Okay.
And when it comes to unblocked browsers,
Yeah.
there's a whole ecosystem out there,
Whoa.
each with its own like philosophy and approach.
It's like choosing the right vehicle
I like that.
for your online journey.
Yeah.
Some people want a sports car for speed.
Hmm.
Others want an off-road vehicle
Right.
for, navigating tougher terrain.
Yeah, speaking of choices,
Yeah.
we've got some info here on popular unblocked browsers.
Okay.
Like Brave and Epic
Okay.
and Tor and Aloha.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of Brave.
They each kind of stand out in different ways.
I've heard of Brave.
Yeah.
It's known for being fast and having a built-in ad blocker, right?
Yeah. One thing that sets Brave apart is its approach to advertising.
Oh, okay.
It's a system called Brave Rewards.
Oh.
It allows users to opt in to privacy-respecting ads and earn BBUT,
With Beep.
basic attention tokens,
Oh,
for their attention.
So instead of bombarding you with random ads,
Right.
Brave lets you choose what to see.
Yeah. And rewards you for your time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is.
It's a very interesting concept.
And it highlights how unblocked browsers are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible when it comes to user privacy and control over online experiences.
Definitely. And what about Epic?
Epic.
Yeah, I know it for its strict no logging policy.
Hmm.
Does that mean it just doesn't track any of your browsing data?
Essentially, yes.
Oh, wow.
Epic prioritizes user privacy by minimizing data collection
Oh, okay.
and not storing any personally identifiable information.
Got it.
It also blocks trackers and fingerprinting scripts and other techniques that websites use to kind of gather information about your browsing habits.
So if I'm really concerned about keeping my online activity private,
Yeah.
Epic sounds like a good option.
It's definitely worth considering if privacy is your top priority.
Okay.
And then there's Tor, which is often seen as like the gold standard for anonymity.
Tor.
Yeah.
The browser favored by journalists and activists and anyone who needs to really keep their online activity hidden.
Right.
It's kind of like something out of a spy movie.
It can feel that way.
Yeah.
Tor utilizes a network of volunteer-run servers
Whoa.
to bounce your traffic through multiple layers of encryption.
Okay.
This makes it extremely difficult to trace your online activity back to you.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why it's considered so secure.
Exactly.
I've also heard it can be a little slow, though, right?
Yeah.
Is that because of all the extra steps
That's exactly it.
involved?
That multi-layered encryption process does come with a performance cost.
Makes sense.
Tor is designed for anonymity, not necessarily speed.
So it's a trade-off.
Right.
You get a high level of privacy, but you might have to
Gotcha.
give up some speed.
Right. It's a common theme with unblocked browsers.
Yeah.
It's all about finding the right balance between features and privacy and performance based on your individual needs and priorities.
Okay.
And then there's Aloha.
Yeah. What about Aloha? What makes it stand out?
Aloha is interesting because it focuses on mobile browsing
Okay.
and it incorporates a built-in VPN for added security and privacy.
So it's like having a personal VPN right in your pocket.
Yeah.
That could be really useful for browsing on public Wi-Fi
Right.
or accessing content that's restricted in your region.
Precisely. And Aloha also offers features like ad blocking and media player support,
Okay.
making it a pretty versatile option for mobile users.
Okay, so we got a good overview of some of the top players
Mm-hmm.
in the unblocked browser game.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, how do these browsers compare to the traditional browser? We're all familiar with
Yeah.
like Chrome and Firefox.
Yeah.
What are the key differences when it comes to privacy and security?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's really at the heart of why unblocked browsers have become so popular.
Yeah.
Traditional browsers, while convenient and feature-rich, often collect a significant amount of data about your browsing habits.
Yeah.
This can be used for targeted advertising,
Right.
sold to third parties,
Yeah.
or even accessed by government agencies in some cases.
It's like browsing under a microscope
Yeah.
with every click and scroll being tracked and analyzed.
Yeah.
Not exactly a feeling of freedom, is it?
Not really, and that's where unblocked browsers come in.
Yeah.
They're designed with privacy and security as top priorities.
Okay.
Many of them block trackers, cookies, and fingerprinting scripts by default.
So they're like digital bodyguards,
Yeah.
shielding you from prying eyes.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Okay. They aim to minimize your digital footprint and give you more control over what information you share online.
Starting to see the appeal, but how do these browsers manage to block all that tracking?
Right.
What's happening behind the scenes?
So let's take a look at a few examples.
Well-
For instance, Brave, which we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
has a built-in feature called Shields.
Okay.
It automatically blocks ads and trackers and even fingerprinting attempts.
Wait, fingerprinting attempts, what does that mean?
Browser fingerprinting is a technique that websites use to identify and track you,
Okay.
even if you're using a VPN or other privacy tools.
Oh, wow.
It works by gathering information about your browser and device and operating system.
Okay.
Things like your screen resolution,
Mm-hmm.
the fonts you have installed, the plugins you use.
Right.
All these little details create a unique fingerprint
Yeah.
that can be used to identify you.
That's unsettling.
It can be, and
Right.
what's concerning is that this can happen without you even knowing. But browsers like Brave are actively fighting back by blocking these fingerprinting attempts and making it harder for websites to create those unique profiles.
So Brave is like a chameleon, blending into the digital landscape
Right.
and making it harder to be tracked.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And other unblocked browsers employ similar tactics,
Got it.
using a combination of ad blockers and script blockers and anti-fingerprinting tools to protect your privacy.
It's starting to feel like a digital arms race,
Yeah,
with browsers constantly evolving to stay ahead of these tracking techniques.
it is in many ways, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's why it's important to stay informed about the different options available and choose a browser that really aligns with your privacy needs.
Right. So unblocked browsers are designed to enhance privacy.
Uh-huh.
But what about security?
Yeah,
Do they offer any protection against malware,
sure.
phishing attacks, or other online threats?
Absolutely. Many unblocked browsers incorporate security features, like malware scanners and phishing filters, and even sandboxing to protect your device from harmful content.
Sandboxing, what's that?
Sandboxing basically isolates websites from the rest of your system.
Okay.
It's like running a website in a virtual container.
Got it.
So even if it contains malicious code, it can't harm your computer or steal your data.
Oh, so it's like creating a safe space
Uh-huh.
to run potentially dangerous websites
Exactly.
without putting your whole system at risk.
Right, it's a crucial security feature,
Yeah.
especially when browsing unfamiliar websites or downloading files.
Okay, starting to see the whole picture now.
Good.
Unblocked browsers aren't just about accessing blocked content.
Yeah.
They're about taking control of your whole online experience,
Right.
protecting your privacy and browsing securely.
That's a great way to summarize it.
Yeah.
They're tools that empower you to make informed choices about how you interact with the digital world.
All right, so we've talked about how unblocked browsers work, the tech
Mhm.
behind them, And how they compare to traditional browsers.
Right.
With so many options, though, how do you choose the right one?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really depends on you, your needs, and your browsing habits. Do you prioritize speed, privacy, security? Are
Yeah.
you trying to bypass specific types of restrictions?
Yeah.
All of these factors play a role in choosing the right tool for the job.
Let's break it down a bit further. What features should someone be looking for if privacy is their top concern?
If privacy is paramount, you'll want to look for browsers that offer strong encryption, a strict no-logging policy, and features like tracker blocking, fingerprinting protection, and even built-in VPNs.
So it's about looking beyond the surface and really digging into the settings
Exactly.
and policies of each browser.
It's about reading the fine print, understanding what data they collect, how they use it, and what steps they take to protect your privacy.
Okay, and what about security?
For security, look for browsers that have built-in malware scanners, phishing filters, sandboxing capabilities, and regular security updates. It's also a good idea to check if they support multi-factor authentication for an extra layer of protection.
So it's about choosing a browser that acts like a digital fortress
Exactly.
with multiple layers of defense
Right.
against online threats.
And remember, security is an ongoing process, so make sure to keep your browser updated.
Right, keep your software in tip-top shape.
You got it.
Okay, we've covered privacy and security.
Mm-hmm.
What if speed is your main concern?
Right.
Are there unblocked browsers out there that can deliver a fast browsing experience without sacrificing too much privacy?
There are definitely options that strike a good balance between speed and privacy.
Okay.
Browsers like Brave and Aloha, which we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
are known for their performance while still offering robust privacy features.
So you don't necessarily have to choose between speed and privacy.
Not at all.
There are browsers that can deliver both.
Absolutely. And beyond those core features,
Yeah.
there are other factors to consider, like the user interface, the availability of extensions, and compatibility with your devices and operating systems.
It's like choosing a new phone. You want it to look good,
Exactly.
have all the apps you need,
Right.
and work seamlessly with your other devices.
The right unblocked browser should enhance your online experience, not complicate it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground
Yeah.
in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the technology behind unblocked browsers,
Uh-huh.
delved into the features that set them apart,
Yeah.
and talked about how to choose the right one based on your needs.
Right. It's been a fascinating journey so far.
Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I bet.
There's a whole world of unblocked browsing to explore, from the pros and cons to the ethical considerations and even the legal landscape.
Right, and in the next part of our deep dive, we'll tackle those issues head on.
Yeah.
We'll discuss the benefits and drawbacks of unblocked browsing, explore the ethical implications of accessing restricted content,
Right.
and examine the legal ramifications in different parts of the world.
It's going to be a thought-provoking journey.
Definitely.
We'll equip you with the knowledge you need to navigate the world of unblocked browsing safely, responsibly, and effectively.
So stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive where we'll uncover the hidden depths of unblocked browsers and help you make informed choices about your online freedom.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into unblocked browsers.
Glad to be back.
We've covered a lot of ground already,
Mm-hmm.
from the tech behind these browsers
Right.
to how they compare to traditional ones.
Yeah.
But let's get real. Are there any downsides to using these tools?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
While unblocked browsers offer a lot of benefits
Yep.
in terms of privacy,
Right.
security, and access to information, it's
Right.
important to be aware of the potential downsides.
Okay, so what are the potential pitfalls we need to be aware of?
One concern is that not all unblocked browsers are created equal
Okay.
when it comes to security.
Okay.
Some, especially free ones, might not invest as heavily in robust security infrastructure.
So while they might be good at, unblocking websites,
Yeah.
they could potentially leave users vulnerable to other types of online threats.
That's a valid concern.
Okay.
It's really crucial to do your research
Yeah.
and choose a reputable browser that prioritizes security,
Right.
even if it comes with a subscription fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to trade one type of restriction for another.
Exactly.
It's like choosing a strong lock for your back door.
Right.
Even if you have a fancy security system for the front, you need to protect yourself from all angles.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of browser fingerprinting,
Right.
which we touched on earlier.
Yeah, we talked about how websites can gather information
Mm-hmm.
about your browser and device to create a unique fingerprint.
Right.
It's like they're building a digital dossier on you without your knowledge.
Yeah. It can feel that way, and it's a reminder that achieving complete anonymity online is incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
even with the best tools at your disposal.
So what can you do to minimize that risk? Is it even possible?
Well, there are a few things you can do.
Okay.
Some unblocked browsers have built-in anti-fingerprinting features
Okay.
that try to mask or randomize your browser's fingerprint.
So it's like changing your disguise regularly.
Yep.
Make
Okay.
it harder for those digital detectives to track you.
Right. And there are also browser extensions you can install
Oh, okay.
that specifically focus on anti-fingerprinting techniques.
Good to know there are ways to fight back against that.
Yeah.
But even if you're being super careful, there's always the issue of legal considerations, right?
Yeah.
Can you get in trouble for using an unblocked browser to access certain websites?
That's where things get a bit tricky.
Okay.
Laws regarding internet access vary significantly from country to country. In some places, using an unblocked browser to bypass government censorship might have serious legal consequences.
So it's not just about whether a website is blocked, but also why it's blocked
Exactly.
and what the laws are in your specific location.
Precisely. It's always best to err on the side of caution
Yes.
and research the local regulations
Right.
before using an unblocked browser to access sensitive content.
It's like traveling to a new country.
Yeah,
You wouldn't just assume that the same rules and customs apply everywhere.
right.
You do your research to avoid any unintentional missteps.
Exactly. And beyond the legal implications,
Yeah.
there are also ethical considerations to keep in mind.
Okay, let's talk about ethics. Where do those come into play with unblocked browsers?
Well, some unblocked browsers are used to access copyrighted material,
Okay.
like movies or music
Yeah.
that might be restricted in certain regions.
Right.
While a browser can technically give you access,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't necessarily give you the legal right to view or download that content.
So it's like having a key that can unlock any door.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're allowed to enter every room.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It highlights the responsibility that comes with using these powerful tools.
Right. Just because you can access something doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
It's important to be mindful of the creators and their rights.
Absolutely. And that sense of responsibility extends to another interesting use case for unblocked browsers:
Okay.
web scraping and online research.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how researchers can benefit from these tools.
Sure, unblocked browsers can be invaluable for researchers who need to access restricted data sources,
Okay.
bypass paywalls, or even compare information from different regions.
Right.
They can also help manage multiple online identities for research purposes.
So if I'm a researcher studying online communities or tracking trends across different countries, an unblocked browser can be a real asset.
Precisely. It can help you gather data that might otherwise be inaccessible or compare perspectives from different parts of the world.
But I imagine there are ethical considerations here too.
Well, for sure.
It's not just a free-for-all to scrape whatever data you want.
You're absolutely right. When it comes to web scraping, it's crucial to be mindful of ethical guidelines.
So what are some best practices for ethical web scraping?
First and foremost, always respect website terms of service.
Okay.
Some websites explicitly prohibit scraping,
Right.
and it's important to adhere to those rules.
So it's like being a good guest at a party.
Yeah,
You follow the host's rules and don't overstay your welcome.
exactly. And beyond respecting terms of service,
Yeah.
it's important to limit the number of requests you send to a server.
Okay.
Bombarding a website with too many requests
Yeah.
can overload their system and disrupt their service for other users.
Right. It's like being mindful of your neighbors. You wouldn't blast loud music all night and keep them awake.
Exactly. And another important aspect of ethical scraping
Yeah.
is identifying yourself properly. Some websites allow scraping, but require you to use a specific user agent string
Got it.
to identify your scraper.
So it's like introducing yourself at a networking event.
Yeah,
You don't want to be the mysterious person lurking in the corner.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Transparency and respect are key when it comes to ethical web scraping.
Okay, so we've covered respecting terms of service,
Uh-huh.
limiting requests,
Mhm.
and identifying yourself properly.
Yeah.
Any other ethical considerations to keep in mind?
Yes. It's also crucial to be mindful of the data you're collecting and how you're using it.
Okay.
Make sure you have a legitimate research purpose
Right.
and that you're handling the data responsibly and ethically.
So it's not just about gathering data, but also about being thoughtful
Exactly.
and responsible in how you analyze and present it.
Ethical web scraping is about using these powerful tools in a way that benefits research and society as a whole without harming individuals or organizations.
We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive,
We have.
exploring the potential downsides of unblocked browsers,
Yeah,
from security concerns to legal implications and ethical considerations. It's clear that these tools come with great responsibility.
absolutely. It's crucial to approach unblocked browsing with awareness and caution, understanding the potential risks, and making informed choices that align with your values.
So before you jump into the world of unblocked browsing,
Yeah.
take a moment to consider the pros and cons, weigh the benefits against the risks, and make sure you're using these tools responsibly and ethically.
Well said. Unblocked browsers can be powerful tools for enhancing your online experience,
Yeah.
but it's up to each individual to use them wisely and responsibly.
All right, we've tackled the downsides and the ethical considerations.
Mm.
In the final part of our deep dive,
Right.
we'll explore some practical tips for maximizing your unblocked browsing experience, including how to choose the right browser for your needs,
Right.
how to stay safe online,
Yeah.
and how to get the most out of these tools.
Sounds
We'll also delve into the future of unblocked browsing,
okay.
exploring the trends and technologies that are shaping the landscape of online freedom and privacy.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll equip you with the knowledge and insights you need to become a savvy and responsible unblocked browser user.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into unblocked browsers. We've explored the technology, the benefits, and even the potential downsides. Now, let's get practical if you're ready to take the plunge. How do you choose the right unblocked browser for your needs?
Choosing the right browser is kind of like selecting a tool from a well-stocked toolbox. You need to consider what you're trying to accomplish and what features are most important to you.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation?
Exactly.
There's no single best unblocked browser out there.
Right. If your main concern is privacy, you'll want to prioritize browsers with strong encryption, a strict no-logging policy, and features like tracker blocking and fingerprinting protection. Tor, for example, is known for its high level of anonymity, but it might not be the fastest option.
All right, we talked about how Tor routes your traffic through multiple layers of encryption,
Yeah.
which can slow down your browsing speed. So it's a trade-off between anonymity and performance.
Exactly. But if speed is your main concern, there are other options like Brave or Aloha, which are known for being faster while still offering solid privacy features.
And what if I'm mainly interested in bypassing geo-restrictions to access content that's blocked in my region?
Okay.
What type of browser should I be looking for?
In that case, a browser with a built-in VPN might be your best bet. A VPN allows you to connect to a server in a different location, making it appear as if you're browsing from that region.
So if I want to watch a movie that's only available in the UK,
Right.
I could use a VPN to connect to a UK server and access it as if I were there.
Exactly. It's a popular way to access streaming services, news websites, and other content that might be restricted in your location.
Okay, starting to get a sense of the different options and how to choose the right tool for the job. But beyond choosing the right browser, are there any general tips for maximizing the unblocked browsing experience and staying safe online?
Absolutely. One of the most important things is to always use a secure connection, especially when browsing on public Wi-Fi. A VPN can add an extra layer of protection by encrypting your traffic and making it harder for snoopers to intercept your data.
Right. Public Wi-Fi can be a bit of a wild west.
Totally.
You never know who's lurking on the network trying to steal your information.
Exactly. And another important tip is to regularly clear your browser's cache and cookies. These files can accumulate over time and slow down your browsing speed as well as potentially expose your browsing history.
It's like cleaning out your digital closet.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the old stuff you don't need anymore to make room for new experiences.
I like that analogy. And of course, make sure your browser is up to date. Updates often include security patches and performance improvements that can enhance your browsing experience.
Right, it's like keeping your software in tip-top shape. You wouldn't want to drive a car with worn-out tires and faulty brakes.
Exactly. And finally, perhaps the most important tip of all, be mindful of what you click on and what information you share online, even with an unblocked browser. It's crucial to practice safe browsing habits.
So common sense still applies even in the world of unblocked browsing.
Absolutely. No browser can protect you from every threat if you're not being careful about your online behavior.
Okay, great tips to keep in mind as we venture into this new territory. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious about the bigger picture. Where is unblocked browsing headed? What's the future of online freedom and privacy?
That's a fascinating question, and the landscape is constantly evolving. We're seeing a growing demand for tools that enhance privacy and give users more control over their data.
So people are becoming more aware of the value of their data, and are
Yes.
looking for ways to protect it.
Exactly. And as this awareness grows, we can expect to see even more innovative browsers and privacy-enhancing technologies emerge.
That's exciting. To think about what are some specific trends or technologies that you're keeping an eye on.
One interesting trend is the rise of decentralized browsers,
Okay.
which aim to move away from the centralized control of companies like Google and Facebook.
So instead of having our data stored and controlled by a few large corporations,
hmm
we could have more distributed and user-controlled systems.
Exactly. Decentralized browsers often use blockchain technology or peer-to-peer networks to distribute data and processing power, making it harder for any single entity to control or censor information.
That sounds like a potential game changer for online freedom and privacy.
It's definitely a space to watch, and another interesting development is the integration of artificial intelligence AI into unblocked browsers.
Okay, AI in browsers. What does that look like? What kind of benefits can AI offer?
AI can be used to enhance privacy by automatically blocking trackers, detecting phishing attempts, and even personalizing your browsing experience without compromising your data.
So AI could be like a super-powered bodyguard, constantly scanning the digital landscape for threats and protecting your privacy in real time.
That's a good way to think about it. AI has the potential to revolutionize the way we browse and interact with the internet, making it safer, more private, and more personalized.
It's fascinating to think about the possibilities. We've come a long way in this deep dive, from the basics of unblocked browsers to the future of online freedom and privacy.
It has been quite a journey exploring the tools, the trends, and the ethical considerations that shape this dynamic landscape.
So as we wrap up, what's the key takeaway for our listeners? What's the most important thing to remember about unblocked browsers?
I think the most important thing is to approach unblocked browsing with a sense of empowerment and responsibility. These tools can unlock a world of possibilities, but it's up to each individual to use them wisely and ethically.
So it's not just about bypassing restrictions. It's about taking control of your online experience, protecting your privacy, and exploring the internet on your own terms.
Well said. Unblocked browsers are a powerful tool for navigating the digital world, but the choices you make ultimately shape your online journey.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of unblocked browsers. We hope you've gained valuable insights and are ready to explore the internet with a newfound sense of freedom and awareness. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.